Hey everybody, it is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, your up and coming queen of real estate, and I'm here for today's and this week's Tuesday tip at 2. All right. I'm talking about home buying grants versus seller's assist. Now, I know I've talked about these different things. I just came out of a whole series talking about different first time home buyer grants and just home buyer grants in general, not just for first time home buyers, but for anybody looking to buy a home and those that are specific to first time home buyers. Just went through that whole spiel. All right. I believe I've talked about seller's assist before and another Tuesday tip or two, and of just continually in general. But something came up this week with a client of mine, asking about home buying grants and, feeling like they're missing out on something and all that good stuff. So I just wanted to explain this idea of getting a grant versus seller's assist with a combination of seller's assist, however that might look like. All right, let's start out with the facts about grants. Now, as I've talked about before, grant is something that can be provided by HUD, maybe a federally funded grants, right? There is also grants that banks will give out, which technically is more so of a lender's credit as opposed to a grant. When you think of a grant, it's something that you don't have to pay back, which most grants are. Even with the federally funded ones, like for example, the K-FIT, as I talked about before, it's like a forgivable loan, if you will. But they call it a grant. Most grant programs have some sort of a, you know, you got to stay in the house a certain amount of years. A lot of them do. Difference between that and a lender's credit is that typically, it's not something where you got to stay in the house a certain amount of years or pay it back at some point for the most part. So with grants, I've talked about Bank of America. I've talked about First Front Door. I've talked about the Key Fit. What else did I talk about? I talked about NACA, a home buying program. I've talked about a lot of different ones. And so some of the great things about the grant, of course, is that you're getting money, right? And I already went through a whole pros and cons series for each of them, but a lot of times with grants, you may have to specifically go to a lender, right? In order for you to utilize that grant. For example, with Bank of America, you have to get a loan with Bank of America, right? And again, when going through the pros and cons of that, one of the cons is, well, you can't just go to any lender. You have to go to specifically them. The con is that maybe, your interest rate is a little bit higher, right? Maybe you're getting a bit less borrowing power, right? You also have to qualify and make sure that your credit score fits the criteria as well, as with many of the other grants as well, right? The First Front Door, you have to get a loan with their specific affiliate lenders, okay, which are banks, which again can have you pay a little bit more in your interest rate, as well as have less borrowing power. With a lot of these programs, the debt to income ratio has to be lower, right? Which will have you borrowing less money. Okay. So when you think you're in one range, you won't be able to be in that range if you go to certain programs, right? You may not be able to get that, to, get the interest rate that you wanted. So, when you're talking about getting a grant, these are things that you have to consider. Again, great opportunities, but there are some other stipulations that you might have to consider. Now, with the seller's assist, seller's credit, seller's concession, they are all the same thing, interchangeable terms. Okay. And that is pretty much the seller is giving you a credit towards your closing costs. right? Which means that you don't have to fork up all the money for closing costs. You're getting that flat amount or that percentage. You can get as much as up to 6%. 6% is the max that you can get towards your closing costs from the seller, right? As a seller's credit, concession, or oh god, I forgot the other one already. Seller's credit, concession, or the other one. You know the third one. Seller's assist. So you can get up to 6%. Up to 6% is allowable. Now, going back to different grants. Okay. With most grants, there is some sort of cap on the amount that you can get. So typically it is 3% of the closing costs or down payment up to $10,000, right? It can be, so whichever one is less. It can be $5,000 in sellers in towards your closing costs, right? It can be, the matching a dollar. It can be, the K-Fit offers 5% and it has no cap, right? Which is, is the best, right? Offering 5%. But with sellers assist, it's flexible. It is based on literally the house that you're getting. It's based on the seller that you're working with. So you don't have to go to a specific lender for it. You don't have to do any of those things. Now, in this aggressive seller's market, it can be a little bit harder, right? For people to want to fork over any seller's credit at all, right? But in this market, it's hard in general, right? Some people don't want to work with people with grants. That's another thing as well. So again, when we're going back and forth about, is seller's credit, is that a great thing? It is a great thing. Let's start with the fact that it is a great thing. And I think the problem that I run into often is like people will ask, hey, am I getting a grant? And it's like, no, you're not getting a grant, but you are getting seller's credit, right? And people don't understand what that means. It means that you're still saving money, that you're still coming to the table with way less than what you would have had to if you had no seller's credit, or even if you did have one of the grant programs. Even if you had one of the grant programs, if you're getting 5% or 6% seller's assist, it's going to afford you a lot less money to bring to the table than a lot of the grants that are out here, right? Now, in some cases, you may be able to do a combination where if you do have a grant, you can also get a seller's assist as well. Of course, it will not be the 5 or 6%, but maybe you get a flat rate seller's assist or seller's credit. It depends on the right house, the right deal. That's all that depends on. Getting seller's assist depends on the right house, the right deal. In this market, you can have all the money. You can have $20,000, $30,000 saved. And trust me, there are still people losing out on securing a house. Okay. So you can need no seller's assist, have conventional loan, great financials, all that other stuff. But this market is still difficult. So, at the end of the day, it's really splitting hairs. If you're in a scenario where you can get a home, get a seller's assist, you're in good shape. That is fantastic. Whether you have the grant or not, being able to get any money from anywhere towards the purchase of your home is a win. And a lot of times with seller's assist, you can make out getting more money towards the purchase of your home than a lot of the grants that are out there. So if you're working with less money in your pocket to bring to the table for your home purchase, seller's assist is a possibility. Can it make it a bit more difficult? Yes. But having, anything can make it difficult in this market. And I'll tell you, like I said, if you were the ideal buyer, all the money saved, right? all the a great loan, conventional loan. The only it listen, even if you have cash, people are still struggling. So you can still lose, right? So listen, cash offers don't always win either. I just want to say when you're talking about the pros and cons of seller's assist, and versus a grant, it doesn't matter which one you use. If you're able to secure it in the purchase of your home, you are winning. You are winning. So please don't feel as though you're losing out if you don't have a first time home buyer grant. Because if you're able to get seller's assist, you are certainly winning. It will certainly make up the difference and compensate for the fact that you do not have a grant. If you need seller's assist, my job as your realtor is to get it. If you need help. If you can do it with a grant, that's great as well. But there are some cons to it. Just like there are some cons to seller's assist. So listen, the point of this Tuesday Tip of Two is to say, whatever money you're getting towards the purchase of your home doesn't matter as long as you're getting help. If you are getting help, please skip to closing day. If you're whether it's a grant, whether it's a seller's assist. And I honestly think that some buyers don't feel as though they're supposed to come to the table with money. You still have to pay for your house. You still got to have somebody save. There still is a cost to purchasing your house. Whether you're coming out having to pay for the inspection, appraisal, all that good stuff, whether you have to come to the table with very little to the closing table, especially in this market, not coming to the table with some money at closing day, right? Not paying closing costs. It is very rare. Now I've had it where a client, was able to get a credit, right? They had the perfect storm. And that was only because in the middle of the transaction, we were able to get some more seller's credit because of some of the things that happened during inspection time, right? So that was a great thing. So they had a grant, and they also had seller's assist that came out to be more than what we initially asked for. So yes, they were able to walk away with money in their pocket. But please understand, that is the perfect blue rare occasion that happens. You're going to have to spend money. And I think it might be that people feel as though I'm gonna get all the first time home buyer grants and I only gotta pay $2 towards my home purchase. No. If you come to me or any realtor and you say this is how much I have saved. Now listen, some people, if you have not enough saved, some realtors and mortgage company won't even give you the time of day. I'll be honest. Can we be honest? I'll be honest. Some lenders and mortgage realtors, especially before this market being aggressive and crazy, but especially in this market being crazy, will not even blink your way, right? I like to pride myself, and I know of many other colleagues that will pride themselves in the fact that, listen, I'm a work with what you have. If you got 10,000, we're gonna work that. If you got 5,000, now within reason. Now, if you're coming over here with $500 now, all right, no, I can't. We can't do something with that. But if you're coming with a good amount of money, because listen, we have to remember that closing costs can be 10, 15, 20, depending on what price point that you're at. So, if you're coming, with a certain amount, we're going to work within the confines of what you bring to the table. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. So I just wanted to make that very clear. You're still going to have to spend money towards the house. Even if you get seller's assist, you're still going to spend money. You're not going to spend $0. You're still going to have to pay a significant amount of money, and for and that could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is still to own a home, and you only had to pay $5,000, which is what you'll pay for a rental first month and last. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm rambling. Please note the seller's credit, seller's concession, seller's assist is a way to help you secure your home, as well as some home buying grants. If you get either of them, you are making out a-okay. The important part is that you secure your house. Get them keys. That is all for today's and this week's Tuesday Tip or Two. Thank you so much for joining me. Please share. Please share. Please share the information. Please understand, if you are a buyer, you're going to have to come out of pocket, and we're going to make it happen for you to be able to secure your home. All right. Do this. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Please do so. Thank you again to the new subscribers who are subscribing to this channel. I appreciate it. And of course, you can always contact me at book.djmrealtyco.com. Again, that is book.djmrealtyco.com to schedule a virtual consultation so we can get you on the path to home ownership. And it's going to happen. Whether you got a grant, whether you don't, whether you got to get you seller's assist, we're going to make it happen. And all you need is one house, one good deal. All right. To make it happen and get you to the finish line. Remember, there is no place like home, no place like home buying. And join me on next week's Tuesday Tip at 2. Thank you guys for joining me again. Talk to you soon. Bye.